The Grand Armada entered the solar system like a dark cloud covering the sun. 800 warships, each one carrying thousands of Valoran soldiers. Fleet Admiral Gorath stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Emperor's Wrath, and smiled. "Sensors show no significant resistance," his officer reported. "A few small ships hiding near the planets. Nothing more." "As expected," Gorath said. "The humans have no fleet, no weapons. They are helpless." He was wrong. Minho watched the armada from behind Mars. The silent blade floated in the shadow of the red planet, completely invisible. Around him, his crew was silent. They all knew what was coming. "Wait for them to pass Saturn," Minho ordered. "Let them come deep into the system, then we spring the trap." The armada moved forward in perfect formation. They passed Neptune. They passed Uranus. They approached Saturn, its rings glowing gold in the distant sunlight. The first mine exploded. It hit a battleship near the front of the formation. 1 second, the ship was flying forward. The next second, it was a ball of fire and metal. Before anyone could react, more mines exploded. 10, 20, 50. The invisible weapons tore through the Valoran fleet like wolves through sheep on the Emperor's Wrath. Admiral Gorath grabbed his console as his ship shook from nearby explosions. Alarms screamed. Officers shouted reports of ships lost, shields failing, systems damaged. "Where are they?" Gorath demanded. "Where is the enemy?" "Sensors show nothing," his officer cried. "The attacks are coming from empty space." Gorath had heard the stories about the ghost ship. He had dismissed them as superstition. Now he was beginning to believe. "All ships raise shields to maximum," he ordered. "Fire at anything that moves." But there was nothing to fire at. The mines were invisible. They floated silently until a ship came close, then they woke up and attacked. By the time the Valorans could react, they were already dead. The Armada lost 90 ships passing Saturn. Another 60 fell near Jupiter. The carefully organized formation began to break, apart as captains panicked and tried to escape the invisible death, but Gorath held them together. He was a veteran of many wars. He would not run. "Press forward," he commanded. "They cannot have unlimited weapons. We will push through and destroy Earth as ordered." The Armada continued toward the inner planets. They lost more ships every hour, but they kept coming. Their numbers were simply too great. Even with all the traps, all the mines, all the hidden defenses, they would reach Earth. Minho knew this. He had planned for it. "All resistance ships, attack now," he ordered, from the asteroid belt, from behind moons. From hidden positions throughout the system, small ships appeared. 37 vessels. Rilthans, Vorics, Narathi, Drakkar, and humans who had escaped the occupation. Each one was equipped with the Shadow Veil. Each one was ready to die. They did not attack in formation. They struck from all directions at once. Their ships flickered in and out of visibility, confusing Valoran sensors. They fired their weapons and then vanished. Before the enemy could return fire, it was chaos. The Armada was being eaten alive from all sides. Gorath tried to organize a defense, but every time he turned to face one threat, another appeared behind him, and then the silent blade struck. Jewu flew like she had never flown before. She dove between massive battleships like a bird between trees. She spun through fields of weapons fire without being touched. She brought the ship so close to Valoran, vessels that they could see the faces of the enemy crew through the windows. Yong fired without stopping. His plasma lances cut through ship after ship. He destroyed engines, weapons, bridges, and reactors. He did not miss a single shot. Nari called out targets. Sora kept the cloaking field stable. Hannah rerouted power from system to system to keep everything running. Deho fixed things as they broke. Bora coordinated with infiltrators who had snuck onto enemy ships days before. The whole crew worked as one, a perfect machine of destruction. Admiral Gorath finally saw the silent blade, just for a moment. A flash of black metal, a glimpse of blue plasma fire. And then his flagship was split in half. The Emperor's Wrath broke apart in the cold darkness of space. Gorith died, still not understanding how the humans had beaten him. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it ended, the Grand Armada was gone. 800 ships reduced to floating debris scattered across the solar system. Millions of Valoran soldiers dead. The greatest military force in galactic history, destroyed by 47 humans and their friends. The news spread across the galaxy instantly. The Valoran Empire had been broken. Their invincible fleet had been shattered. Their power was a lie. On the Valoran homeworld, Emperor Thavros received the news in his throne room. He sat very still for a long time. Then his own generals walked in and killed him. They blamed him for everything. They said he had made the empire weak. They fought among themselves for power while their territory collapsed around them. Within 1 year, the Valoran Empire no longer existed. It broke into 100 small kingdoms, each one fighting the others. The conquered worlds were free. The slaves were free. The galaxy was free. A new council was formed. Representatives from every species came together to create a new government. They offered humanity a seat at the head of the council. They said humans had earned it. But Minho said no. We did not fight to rule others, he told the council. We fought to protect our home and to help others protect theirs. We will be your friends and your equals, but we will not be your masters. The galaxy has had enough of empires. The council accepted his words. Humanity took a seat as an equal member. Nothing more. Minho returned to Earth. He walked through the ruins of Sol and began to help rebuild. The silent blade was preserved and placed in orbit around Earth as a monument. A reminder of what humans could do when they refused to give up. 50 years later, Minho was an old man. He sat in a garden in New Sol, surrounded by trees and flowers. The city had been rebuilt, bigger and more beautiful than before. A young woman in a military uniform approached him. She was nervous. Admiral Kong, she said. I am shipping out tomorrow. My first mission in deep space. Do you have any advice? Minho looked up at the sky. Somewhere up there, the silent blade still orbited, invisible and eternal. Never let them see you coming, he said. And never let them forget what happens when they underestimate us. The young woman saluted and walked away. Minho smiled and closed his eyes, feeling the sun on his face. The war was over. His people were safe. And the galaxy would never forget the ghost ship that had shattered an empire. The news spread across the galaxy like fire. The Valoran Empire, rulers of 1,000 worlds for 12,000 years, was losing. Ships were disappearing. Stations were burning. Commanders were dying. And no one could stop the invisible enemy. On conquered worlds everywhere, slaves began to whisper. They whispered about the humans. About a ghost ship that could not be seen. About a small crew that was hurting the mighty empire. If the humans could fight back, they asked, why could they not do the same? Minho saw an opportunity. We cannot win this war alone, he told his crew. We are 47 people against an empire of billions. We can hurt them, but we cannot destroy them. Not by ourselves. Then what do we do? Young asked. We share our fire, Minho said. We give others the tools to fight back. Deho and Hana worked for 3 weeks to simplify the cloaking technology. The full system was too complex to copy without Earth's special materials. But they created a smaller version. It was not perfect. It would not make ships completely invisible, but it would confuse Valoran sensors. It would give resistance fighters a chance. They called it the Shadow Veil, the Silent. Blade began visiting conquered worlds in secret. They found resistance groups hiding in caves and forests and underwater cities. They shared the Shadow Veil technology. They taught them how to fight. They gave them hope. The first world to rise up was Riltha. The Rilthans were insect-like beings with hard shells and many legs. They had been slaves for 2,000 years. The Valorans used them in mining colonies because they were strong and could survive in harsh conditions. A Rilthan leader named Krex received the Shadow Veil technology from Sora herself. She showed him how to install it on their small mining ships. She showed him how to hide from Valoran sensors. You have given us a gift, Krex said. His voice was like the sound of clicking stones. "We will not waste it." 3 days later, the Rilthans attacked every Valoran outpost on their planet at the same time. The attacks came from nowhere. The Valorans could not track them. By the time reinforcements arrived, the Rilthans had taken control of their world. It was the first successful rebellion in the Empire's history. Emperor Thavros received the news in his throne room. His advisors were afraid to speak. The Emperor's rage was terrible. "How?" he screamed. "How did slaves defeat my soldiers?" No one had an answer. The rebellion spread. On Vorix Prime, the crystalline Vorix people destroyed their Valoran overseers and reclaimed their ancient cities. On Nareth, the fish-like Narethi flooded the mining platforms the Empire had built in their oceans. On Dragon 4, the winged Drakkar swept down from the mountains and burned every Valoran building to the ground. Each rebellion was different. Each world had its own way of fighting, but they all had one thing in common. They all used variations of the Shadow Veil. They all had been visited by the Silent Blade. Minho watched the galaxy catch fire. He felt pride, but also fear. The Empire would not accept this. They would strike back with everything they had. He was right. Emperor Thavros gathered his remaining admirals and made a decision. The rebellions were spreading because of one thing: hope. The slaves believed they could win because the humans had shown them it was possible. The solution was simple: destroy the source of hope. Destroy Earth. Assemble the Grand Armada, Thavros commanded. Every ship we have. I want the human homeworld turned to ash. I want nothing left. Not a single building, not a single life. When the galaxy sees what we do to those who defy us, the rebellions will end. The Grand Armada was the largest fleet ever assembled in Valoran history. 800 warships, the biggest and most powerful vessels in the Empire. Battleships, carriers, destroyers, and dreadnoughts. Enough firepower to destroy 100 worlds. Nari intercepted the transmission about the Armada. She brought it to Minho with shaking hands. "They are sending everything," she said. 800 ships. They will arrive at Earth in 43 days. Minho looked at the data. His heart sank. The Silent Blade was powerful, but it was one ship. They had destroyed hundreds of Valoran vessels over the past 2 years. But 800 at once? That was impossible. He called the crew together. "You all know what is coming," he said. "The Empire is sending its Grand Armada to destroy Earth, every ship they have. We have 43 days to stop them." Silence filled the room. The crew looked at each other. They had fought so hard for so long. They had won so many battles. But this felt like the end. Ji-woo spoke first. "We need help." Minho nodded. "Yes, we need everyone." They sent messages to every resistance group they had helped. The Rilthans, the Vorix, the Narethi, the Drakkar, and dozens more. They asked for ships, weapons, soldiers, anything. The responses came quickly. Most could not send much. They were still fighting for their own worlds. But they sent what they could. A few ships here, some weapons there. Technology and information. It was not enough to fight the Grand Armada directly. But Minho did not plan to fight directly. "We will not meet them in open battle," he said. "We will use everything we have learned: invisibility, traps, mines. We will make them pay for every step they take toward Earth." Sora and Hana worked without sleep. They built hundreds of invisible mines. They designed hidden defense platforms that could be placed in space without being detected. They created plans and backup plans and backup plans for the backups. Bora trained teams of infiltrators from the Resistance. They would sneak onto Valoran ships and sabotage them from within. Young practiced coordinating attacks with the small fleet of Resistance vessels that had gathered, and Jiwoo flew practice runs through asteroid fields. Preparing for the battle of her life, 43 days passed quickly. On the last night before the Armada arrived, Minho stood on the bridge of the Silent Blade. Through the windows he could see Earth, his home. Blue and green and beautiful, he had left that world 2 years ago, promising to return. Now he would either save it or die trying. Everyone ready? He asked. Ready, his crew replied. Minho took a deep breath. Tomorrow, the fate of humanity would be decided. 18 months had passed since the Silent Blade left Earth. In that time, they had destroyed over 200 Valoran ships. They had killed 3 regional governors. They had burned supply lines and shattered military bases. And they had never been seen. The Valoran Empire was bleeding. Emperor Thavros no longer believed in equipment failures. He knew now that something was hunting his people. Something invisible. Something deadly. He called his greatest military leaders to his throne room and demanded answers. Find this ghost ship, he commanded. Find it and destroy it. I do not care what it costs. Commander Vexer stepped forward. He was young for a Valoran commander, only 200 years old. But he was smart. He had won every battle he had ever fought. He had never failed. I will find them, my emperor, Vexer said. Give me a fleet, and I will bring you their heads. Thavros gave him 50 warships, the best ships in the empire, the fastest, the strongest. They called them the Hunter Fleet. On the Silent Blade, life had become routine. The crew had grown used to their small ship. They had become family. They ate together, trained together, and fought together. They celebrated birthdays with small cakes that Deho baked in the tiny kitchen. They told stories about Earth, about their homes, about the people they had lost. Dr. Shin Hana had joined the crew 6 months after they left Earth. She was a scientist who had escaped from a Valoran prison colony. Her specialty was energy systems, and she quickly became Sora's partner in improving the ship. Together, Sora and Hana made a discovery that changed everything. They found that the cloaking field could be extended beyond the ship. It could cover other objects, mines, probes, even small shuttles. We can plant invisible mines in their shipping lanes, Hana explained to Minho. They will never see them coming. Minho smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of a hunter who had just found a new weapon. They spent the next 2 months planting mines throughout Valoran space. The mines were small, no bigger than a person. They floated in the darkness, invisible and patient. When a Valoran ship came close, they woke up, flew toward the ship, and exploded. Valoran captains began to lose their minds. Their ships were exploding for no reason. Their sensors showed nothing. They started shooting at empty space, hoping to hit something they could not see. Sometimes they hit their own ships by accident. The Silent Blade watched and waited. Sometimes they attacked directly. Sometimes they let the mines do the work. Either way, the Empire kept bleeding. Commander Vexer studied every attack. He read every report. He looked at maps and charts and data until his eyes hurt. And slowly, he began to see a pattern. The attacks were not random. They targeted specific supply lines, specific military bases, specific shipping routes. Someone was planning this carefully. Someone was trying to cut the Empire's outer territories off from the core worlds. Vexer understood strategy. He knew that whoever was doing this wanted to weaken the Empire's grip on its conquered worlds. If the outer territories could not get supplies, they would become harder to control. Rebellions would start. The Empire would have to spread its forces thin. It was a smart plan. A human plan. Vexer set a trap at Corven Station. It was a major trading hub where many supply routes met. He spread rumors that a large convoy would pass through, carrying valuable cargo. Then he hid his hunter fleet behind the station's moons and waited on the Silent Blade. Nari detected the convoy. She reported it to Minho, and the crew prepared for another attack, but Jiwoo felt something wrong. Wait, she said. Her hands paused over the controls. Something does not feel right. Minho looked at her. He had learned to trust Jiwoo's instincts. She had saved them many times before. What is it? He asked. The convoy is too perfect, she said. Too obvious. Like someone wants us to find it. Sora checked her sensors. They showed only the convoy and the station. No hidden ships. No traps, but Minho trusted his pilot. Pull back, he ordered. We will watch and wait. They waited for 2 days. And then they saw it. A small shuttle left the station and headed toward one of the moons. Sora tracked it and found the hunter fleet hiding in the moon's shadow. 50 warships, Nari whispered. He was waiting for us. Minho felt cold anger rise in his chest. The Valorans had almost caught them. Almost ended their mission. But they had made a mistake. They had revealed themselves. New plan, Minho said. We do not attack the convoy. We attack the station. Specialist Libora was their infiltration expert. She was small and quiet and very good at pretending to be someone else. 3 days earlier she had sneaked onto Corvin Station disguised as a slave worker. Now she was inside their defense control center waiting for orders. Bora, can you take down their defense grid? Minho asked through their hidden communication channel. Give me 10 minutes, Bora replied. Exactly 10 minutes later, Corvin Station's shields and weapons went offline. Alarms screamed. Guards ran in confusion. And the silent blade dropped out of the darkness. Vexor saw his trap fail. He ordered his fleet to move, but they were too far away. By the time they reached the station, the silent blade had destroyed the defense grid, the docking bays, and half of the station's infrastructure. The hunter fleet arrived just in time to see their enemy disappear into empty space. Vexor had failed. When Emperor Thavros heard the news, he was furious. He ordered Vexor brought before him in chains. You promised me their heads, Thavros said. Instead, you gave them another victory. Vexor tried to explain. He had been so close. He had found their pattern. He understood how they thought, but Thavros did not want explanations. He wanted results. Vexor was executed that night. His body was displayed as a warning to others who might fail the Emperor on the silent blade. The crew celebrated quietly. They had survived another trap. They had destroyed another enemy base. And they had killed the Empire's greatest hunter, but Minho did not celebrate. He stood alone on the bridge looking at the stars. The Empire was wounded, but it was not dead yet. And wounded animals were the most dangerous of all. For 3 months, the silent blade moved through Valoran space like a whisper in the dark. The crew learned to live in the small ship. They slept in shifts. They ate simple meals. They trained every day. And they waited for the right moment to strike. Minho spent his days studying Valoran patrol routes. Navigator Cho Nari mapped their supply lines. Weapons Officer Beek Yang tested their plasma lances again and again until he knew every system perfectly. And Sora kept improving the cloaking field, making it stronger. Making it better, their first target was a supply convoy near the Andrus Nebula. The nebula was a cloud of purple and blue gas that stretched across space for millions of kilometers. It was beautiful and dangerous. Ships could hide in its clouds, but so could enemies. The Valorans used it as a checkpoint for convoys moving between their outer colonies. Nari detected the convoy 3 days before it arrived. 12 massive cargo ships, each one carrying resources stolen from conquered worlds. Food, minerals, fuel, and technology. 3 warships escorted them. These were not small patrol vessels. They were real warships with heavy weapons and thick armor. Minho called a meeting in the small common room. This is our first attack, he said. We need to be perfect. No mistakes. No hesitation. We hit them hard and fast, and then we disappear before they know what happened. Yang nodded. He was a big man with a calm face. He never showed fear. The plasma lances are ready. I can take out 2 ships before they even know we are there. What about the third? Jiwoo asked. I will handle it, Minho said. Nari, give us an approach vector that keeps us behind the cargo ships. Use them as cover? Nari was a thin woman with glasses and quick fingers. She worked on her console for a moment, then displayed a path on the screen. This route keeps us hidden behind the convoy until we are in range. They will not see us until we fire. They will not see us at all, Sora said quietly, the day of the attack arrived. The crew took their positions. Jiwoo sat at the pilot controls, her hands steady. Yang powered up the weapons. Nari watched the sensors. And Minho stood in the center of the bridge, watching everything. The Valoran convoy appeared on their screens. The three warships flew in a triangle formation around the cargo vessels. Their shields were down. Their weapons were cold. They expected no trouble. Admiral Draven commanded the escort fleet from his flagship. He was an old Valoran warrior with gray skin and 4 eyes. He had fought in dozens of campaigns and conquered many worlds. He considered this convoy duty beneath him, but orders were orders. He had no idea that death was coming for him. "Move us in," Minho ordered. Jiwoo pushed the ship forward. The silent blade glided through space without a sound. They passed within 100 meters of a cargo ship. Nothing happened. No alarms, no alerts. They were invisible, in range, Nari said. "Fire?" Minho said. Yang pressed the trigger. 2 beams of blue plasma shot from the silent blade and struck 2 Valoran warships at the same time. The beams cut through their shields like they were paper. The ships exploded in balls of fire and metal. On his flagship, Admiral Draven jumped from his seat. Alarms screamed. Lights flashed red. His officers shouted in panic. "What happened?" He roared. "Where did that come from?" "Sensors show nothing," an officer cried. "There is nothing there. That is impossible." Draven looked at the burning wreckage of his escort ships. 2 of his 3 warships, gone in seconds. "Find them! Find them now!" But there was nothing to find. Jiwoo spun the silent blade around and brought them behind Draven's flagship. Young fired again. The plasma beam struck the flagship's engines and tore them apart. The massive ship began to drift, powerless and dying. Draven grabbed his console as the ship shook. Smoke filled the bridge. His crew was screaming. And then another beam hit, and the flagship split in 2. The cargo ships tried to run. They were slow and heavy, built for carrying goods, not for fighting or escaping. Yang destroyed them one by one. Some took 2 shots. Some took 3. None of them escaped. The battle lasted 4 minutes. When it was over, the silent blade floated alone in the nebula, surrounded by debris and fire. 12 cargo ships and 3 warships, all destroyed. Hundreds of Valoran crew members, all dead. Minho looked at his crew. They were breathing hard. Their eyes were wide. Some of them had tears on their faces. This was the first time they had killed. The first time they had struck back. "Good work," Minho said. "This is only the beginning." When news of the attack reached the Valoran homeworld, Emperor Thavros was confused. A convoy destroyed with no survivors and no sensor records? His admiral suggested equipment failure. Perhaps the ships had hit mines. Perhaps there was an accident. Thavros accepted this explanation. No primitive species could have technology that his sensors could not detect. It was simply not possible. He was very wrong. Over the next 3 weeks, the silent blade struck again and again. A fuel station near the Korvax system. A military outpost in the Darkfall sector. A patrol fleet guarding a mining colony. Each time, the attacks came from nowhere. Each time, there were no survivors. Each time, the sensors showed nothing. The Valoran military began to whisper about a ghost. A demon from the void that hunted their ships in the darkness of space. They called it many names. The Shadow. The Phantom. The Invisible Death, but on the silent blade. The crew simply called it Justice.SOR worked day and night to improve their systems. She found ways to make their weapons fire without breaking the cloak. She improved their sensors so they could detect Valoran ships from farther away. She was tired all the time, but she never stopped working. One night, Minho found her in the engineering bay, sleeping at her desk. He covered her with a blanket and let her rest. She had given them a miracle. The least he could do was let her sleep. The Valoran Empire was about to learn a hard lesson. Some prey fights back, and some prey is far more dangerous than it appears. The sky above Seoul was burning. Orange and red flames lit up the night as massive alien warships floated over the city like dark clouds. Captain Kang Minho stood on a mountain and watched his world die. The Valoran Empire had come to Earth 3 days ago. Their ships had appeared suddenly, blocking out the sun. They sent one message to all of humanity: surrender or die. The world's leaders tried to fight. They launched missiles. They sent fighter jets. They used every weapon they had. It lasted 19 hours. 19 hours, and then there was nothing left to fight with. Minho was 34 years old. He had served in the Korean Space Defense Corps for 12 years. He had trained his whole life to protect his country from threats in space. But nothing had prepared him for this. The Valorans were not like anything humans had ever seen. Their ships were 1,000 years more advanced. Their weapons cut through Earth's defenses like a hot knife through butter. Now he was hiding in an underground bunker with 46 other survivors. Engineers, pilots, scientists, and soldiers. All of them were tired. All of them were scared. And all of them were looking at him for answers. Lieutenant Park Sora sat in the corner of the bunker, working on her computer. She was a small woman with short black hair and tired eyes. For 7 years, she had been developing something special. A cloaking system. A way to make ships invisible. The military had called it a waste of money. They said it would never work against real enemies. Now those enemies were here, and her technology was all they had left. The bunker door opened, and Chief Engineer Yundeho walked in. He was an old man with white hair and rough hands. He had built ships his entire life. Now he was building something that might save humanity. "It is ready," Deho said. Minho looked at him. "The ship?" "Yes, the Silent Blade. It is ready to fly." The Silent Blade was a secret project. Only a few people knew about it. The ship was small, fast, and completely invisible. Not just to eyes, but to sensors, radar, and every scanning technology known to exist. When the cloaking system was on, the ship simply did not exist. It left no heat signature, no radiation, no mass reading, nothing. The Valorans had sensors that could detect a single human heartbeat from orbit. But they could not detect the Silent Blade. Sora had made sure of that. Minho gathered his team in the main room of the bunker. He looked at their faces. Some were young, barely 20 years old. Others were veterans like him. All of them had lost family, friends, and homes in the invasion. "The war is over," Minho said. "Earth has fallen. The Valoran Emperor has declared us a conquered species. They will take our people and use them as slaves in their mining colonies across the galaxy." The room was silent. Everyone knew this already. They had heard the broadcasts. "But we are not done fighting," Minho continued. "We have something they do not know about. A ship that their sensors cannot see. A weapon they cannot stop. We are going to take this ship into space. We are going to hurt them. And we are going to make them remember that humanity does not surrender." A young pilot named Han Ji-woo raised her hand. She was 26 years old, with long black hair tied back in a ponytail. Before the invasion, she had been a racing champion. She could fly anything faster than anyone else. "Where do we go?" she asked. "Earth is surrounded by their fleet. We go through them," Minho said. "They will not see us. They will not hear us. We will pass through their blockade like ghosts, and then we will begin our mission." Deho nodded. "The ship can hold 47 people. We have food and supplies for 2 years. After that, we will need to find more. We will take what we need from them," Minho said. "Every supply ship we destroy, every station we attack, we take their resources and use them against them." Sora stood up. Her voice was quiet but strong. "I have studied their technology. Their sensors are powerful, but they have weaknesses. They cannot detect anything that does not emit energy. Our cloaking field absorbs all energy output from the ship. To them, we will look like empty space. And if they find us?" someone asked. "They will not find us," Sora said. "I have spent 7 years making sure of that." That night, the team packed everything they could carry. Weapons, food, medicine, tools, and data. They walked through dark tunnels for 3 hours until they reached a hidden hangar deep beneath the mountains. The Silent Blade was waiting for them. It was beautiful. Sleek and black, shaped like a blade, just as its name suggested. It was not big. It was built for speed and stealth, not for carrying large crews or heavy cargo. But it was enough. Minho was the last aboard. He stood at the hangar entrance and looked back at the tunnel that led to the surface. Somewhere up there, Seoul was still burning. His parents had lived in that city. His sister, his friends, all gone now. He made a promise in his heart. He would make the Valorans pay for every life they had taken. He would hurt them in ways they had never been hurt before. And one day he would come back to Earth and see his home free again. The hangar doors opened to reveal the night sky. Valoran ships patrolled overhead, their searchlights scanning the mountains. They were looking for survivors. Looking for resistance. They would never find the silent blade. Jaiwoo took the pilot seat and started the engines. They made no sound. The ship lifted off the ground slowly, silently, and rose into the darkness. They passed within 200 meters of a Valoran patrol ship. Its sensors showed nothing. Its crew saw nothing. The silent blade slipped through the blockade like a shadow through light, and so began humanity's revenge.